everybody. It is Friday, September 12th. My name is Karen and this is BobbleHeadKnits. So welcome everybody. This is going to be a rather short visit because I don't have a whole lot to talk about. So let's jump right in. To begin with, I have no finished objects. I did not even come close to finishing anything. It just was one of those weeks. Whip wise, I'm only going to talk about a few whips because some of them I did so little on you wouldn't even notice. So let's start with my big whip, which is the what is it called, Snowbird cardigan, and it is by Heidi. Sorry, I'm looking down at my iPad in case you're wondering. Heidi Kirrmaier. And it is a Christmas gift for my daughter-in-law. I am currently working on the sleeve, which is being knit flat, and there it is. The the marker right there is where I was last week, so I've knit that much in a week. Not bad for me. As you know, the sweater is knit flat pretty much the whole thing, and in the round, only not really because it's cardigan. So it's got some weird construction going on. The sleeves are done fairly early on. There's the back of the cardigan, and then the sleeve. Once I get both sleeves done, then you knit the body. So it's a little bit odd construction for me. Personally, I've not knit a cardigan like this before, so we'll see how it goes. I am not the best at stitching things up, so stitching the flat sleeve up will be quite interesting. All right, this is knit with Malabrigo Rios. The color is Scorpio, and can you see it? It's so, here, I'm gonna hide. It is so pretty. It's like a navy blue, deep navy blue with some burgundy and browns and purples. Just gorgeous. It's worsted weight. Very happy with it. And it is, the garter stitch is on the outside. So very different. Yes. All right. And that is for my daughter-in-law. And it's a Christmas gift, but she knows it may not come until after Christmas. So this yarns, it's weird because some of them really smell like kind of a vinegary smell. I have like 7 skeins of it, and some of them smell weird and some of them don't, but yeah, this one smells like vinegar for sure. I don't know what they're washing in, but yeah. And what else? Hit the gauge dead on, so hopefully it'll fit her. And that's all I really have. Some of the skeins, the dye is coming off on my hands, but then some of it not so much. The first one I had a lot of dye coming off. The second skein, which I'm knitting on now, hardly any coming off. So I guess it's just a kind of hit and miss type of thing. So, but given the saturation of color, I'm not upset about it. It is living in this bag I had made by Amber at Amber Marine Knits. There it is. Such a beautiful bag. The top of the bag pulls out so it grows. Look at that. Yes, I will need this part of it at some point. So gorgeous. All right. Next up. Hang on, hold on. My basket of knitting is on the floor, so hang on. All right, next up we have in my doggy bag. I don't know who this is by. It's a bag I bought in Palm Springs, California a few years ago. I am knitting the Bertie Cowl, which is a brioche cowl, and here it is. Hang on, let me just pull my stitches in. There are my needles in. There it is. And where that marker is, right there, is where I was last week. It is all brioche. So it takes a little bit of time, and I'm knitting this in Madeline Tosh DK in the colorway Beta. There's the Beta. And Geranium. There it is. Yes. And yeah, really happy with it. It is brioche, as I mentioned, so have to be paying attention when I do it, but it's going fine. And it is beautiful. This is a Christmas in July cast on for my sister. It's her Christmas gift, and I get quite a lot done, but I have quite a lot more to knit, so it'll be a while. All right, and that pattern is by, let me tell you, hold on, Tracey Cox. I think it's a free pattern. I'm pretty sure it is a free pattern. All right, next up, and hang on, I had a little string on me. This is for my project that I'm knitting with Karen at Recreational Knitting for Wednesday in September. I am knitting a Musselburgh, and last week, if you watched, I had just cast it on, so I really did not have a whole lot to show you, but I made pretty good progress. Here it is. There it is. This is a Christmas gift or birthday gift from my brother-in-law. It's living in my stash bag. Yeah. The yarn it's a Zauberball, crazy Zauberball. And yeah, beautiful. And it's coming along fine. It's my mindless knitting. So getting some progress on that. I think last week when I saw you, I was still working the increases at the top. So yeah, it's getting there. It might actually be done in September, which would be shocking, but it might be. So we'll see. And of course, the Musselburgh is one of my favorite hat patterns and such a fun pattern to knit. And I, for the life of me, can't tell you who wrote the pattern, but I will put it down right here, right there. If I remember to do that, I probably will. I will. All right. What next? Oh, okay. Now this project, I'm going to pause you a second because I need a sock blocker and I need to grab something. So I'm just going to pause you. Wait right here. Okay, I'm back. All right, this next project is my toe up vanilla Beetlejuice socks. I made it up. There they are. And I have to talk to you about this because I got some issues. All right, so we'll discuss the heel in a few minutes. The yarn is Beach Bum Yarns, and it is Beetlejuice, and it is still on the needles, as you can see. Is that going to focus? There it is. All right, all of this, it was a set, and it's beautiful. Look at that, gorgeous. Look at that pooling, love that. Here's the issue. Well, first I did a K. Jones umbrella toe. Okay, here's the issue. I then just did a vanilla, we're going up. Once I got to the gusset, I started following just a free pattern I found on working the gusset and the heel. And this is the heel I ended up with. The heel looks a bit odd. I've decided that the problem is, well, there's two problems. One, it should have ended about here. Yeah. Two, the heel yarn, it's all part of a set, a Beetlejuice sock set. The heel yarn is thicker. It's not like the normal fingering weight that the rest of the yarn is. It's thicker. So it just looks weird. However, this is meant to be a Beetlejuice Halloween sock. So I decided it fits. So I've decided to just keep knitting it, but I'm going to cast on the second sock and knit all the way through the heel. One, to make sure I did this one right and it wasn't just me over knitting the heel. Totally possible. And then also to make sure that I have enough yarn to finish the other heel. So I did not, well, it's supposed to be 20 grams. This is how much I have. And sorry, I did not weigh this yarn, so I can't tell you how much that is. But I'm going to cast on the second sock today, knit all the way through the heel, make sure they match. If they don't, if I need more yarn or if I've overshot this one, I'm going to rip this one back and then go from there. Yeah. All right. It is a fun sock though. I'm not too worried about the heel looking funny. I mean, it's like Frankenstein. So as long as I have enough yarn, then we'll be okay. So I'm going to be working on that this weekend. And yeah, this is living in another bag by Amber. And it's my Halloween bag. I won that from Amber last year. And yes, she will make a bag for you, a custom bag. So if you're interested, you just reach out to her. All right. Yeah, so that is it as far as the knitting that I'm going to show you today, because I didn't really knit on my other things enough that it makes sense to show them to you. You wouldn't see a huge difference. So that pretty much wraps up. No, it does not. All right. I don't have any more whips to show you, but let's talk about the other knitty things. As far as stash enhancements, I did not get any yarn in this week. Yay me! I did mention last week that I had bought a book, and I didn't actually, I said, I'll tell you what it is later, and I didn't tell you all what it was. So I bought the book, The Sock Knitting Bible by Lynn Rowe, mainly because I'm tired of piecing together these sock patterns, because I want a very specific sock and I've yet to find a pattern that works for me personally. So I'm going to try, after these socks, I'm going to try to follow some of the patterns in that book and really work on my gauge and all that stuff, all the things. So I've started it already. I've already learned some things out of it. I'm kind of a self-taught sock knitter. So it's taken me quite a few go-rounds with socks to finally be like, okay, I admit defeat. I need to just learn from a book. So that's what I'm doing. So, all right, let's see what else. Other knitting news. Last week I also mentioned I was not going to pull from the Lucky Dip sock bag. The reason is because this month I finished some socks last week. I would have picked new sock yarn. The reason is because I have way too many whips going and I'm starting to feel panicky about whether I will finish all my Christmas whips that I cast on for Christmas in July. Hang on, there's a fire truck coming by. While it goes by, I'm going to take some coffee. Hang on, take a sip of coffee. Hang on. Okay, sounds like it's going the other way. All right, so I am not casting on any more socks until I get one of my current socks off. I currently have 2 socks on the needles, so I have my Beetlejuice socks, and then I have a pair of socks for my husband, and I'm going to finish one of those, and then I will cast on another. But mainly, I'm trying to get all of my Christmas knitting done, and with the goal of getting started at the beginning of the next year, January 1st, with maybe 1 sock on the needles, but nothing else. So yeah, that's why I'm not casting on any more socks for now. But then I have lots of sock plans. So hopefully next week you will see a lot more work done on the socks that I have. Well, the one sock I didn't show you this week, but the you'll see a lot of progress on them. And then as I finish things, I will, there's like 2 other things for my Christmas in July cast on list that I really do want to cast on. I really do want to finish for Christmas. So I will probably cast on one of those 2 other things before I cast on more socks, and then just, work it back to, where I get all the Christmas stuff, but maybe not the cardigan, but the rest of the things done. And then I cast on socks again, if that makes sense. Or if I just talk myself in a circle. I don't know. All right. But you get the idea of what I'm saying, right? All right. I did talk last week about how we're going to do a low-buy year next year, because I have run out of existing storage. I could add more storage for my yarn stash. I have room, but I'm trying not to. So I'm hoping that I can knit a lot of from stash. And now you can hear one of my dogs barking. Busy morning here. What can I say? All right. So yeah, it will be a low buy year. All right. Now let's talk about, this is not knitting news, but it is crafty. So we should talk about it. Hang on. Oh, before we get into the not knitting news, let's talk about my bag of chaos. That's my Fort of a Mason bag here. I'm not going to pull it all out. I'm just going to show you, because we're going to make this a little segment until I clear out this bag of chaos. There it is. Those are 3 different skeins of yarn that got tangled as I was winding, and I'm going to have to hand wind them. They're living in the bag of chaos, and every week I'm going to show you an update on where we are, and with the goal of getting all this wound and out of the way. I'm not giving myself a deadline. I need to get this blue and this yellow wound up by December, if not sooner, because these are part of my Christmas in July cast-ons. So I will need these. So I'm going to work on these. And then this other bag, which I actually don't have, I actually have started winding it and the ball is somewhere else, but this is what I have left to wind. This is not under any time of, I have no deadline for it, but I'd like to get it done by the first of the year too. I don't have time to just sit and wind yarn. So, but if I give myself this kind of goal, then it'll work. So look for regular updates from the bag of chaos. All right. Okay, now for non-knitty crafting news. Let's go. So if you happened to see my post last week, you'll know that I got my sewing machine. I am not a sewist. I've never claimed to be. I cannot claim, or I cannot even sew on a button. And y'all that have been here a while know that my mom was a professional seamstress, so it's kind of funny. But I decided, along with my daughter-in-law, that I was going to buy a sewing machine because we've needed, there have been a few times where we've needed a sewing machine. So I found a pretty nice Brother sewing machine with the lid and it came with everything basically. So I bought it, and it came last week, and I immediately, pulled it out of the box, went to town, figuring out, I didn't even know how to thread the needle, but it supposedly has an automatic needle threader. It does. It's just not as automatic as I thought it would be. but I got it figured out. I got it as far as threading the needles and set up and all that. It has like 150 stitches, like different stitch things. It's pretty cool. It's very high tech. So I got the thing, and I immediately, within 2 hours, sewed up a little pillow. Look at that. Yay, me. Yes, it's pretty funny. I just had a fat quarter, so I only needed to sew 3 of the edges. This one I should have hand sewed, like tucked it in and properly hand sewed it after I stuffed the pillow, but I didn't. I just did this little pillow, just kind of, to practice. And I've been using it when I'm sitting on the couch at night to put my elbow on. It's crazy. But not to fear. I have low expectations for my sewing machine or my Sew-a-Stays, but I signed up not for 1 class, but for 2 classes. The first one is in two weeks, I think, and it's just basic, how to sew 101, sewing 101 class, and it will be just like a 3-hour class, and it's on like the place where I'm taking it. They have their own sewing machines, and they supply everything, so I don't really have to bring anything. But then I thought it would be nice to actually take a class where I sewed on my own sewing machine and got to know the sewing machine better. So I scheduled for 2 weeks after, I'm going to take a second class where I actually get to take my sewing machine and learn on that. So I will at least learn the basics. My whole goal on this is to learn how to basic sewing, like if I had to do a hem or something. But I might, make a few project bags and a few other things. I was trying to think of what other things do I really need to sew, but, project bag seems the obvious. So I'm going to do that. It was cool. My husband's actually really interested in too. He's like, oh, maybe I'll start quilting. And I was like, you do that, honey. But he did not want to take class with me. So, yes. All right. So, it's a nice machine. I like it. But, I grew up with either my mom's heavy duty industrial sewing machines, because she was she sewed sewed wedding gowns and hand sewed bead it and all that stuff. So she had some serious machinery. And she also, she was from Japan, when she first came to the US, she carried this Singer sewing machine, solid metal. That thing must have weighed at least 50 pounds. It was heavy. Even as an adult, I could barely lift the thing. But it was solid. It was all metal, everything. So when I got this machine, I was kind of like, well, this is as nice as my mom's, but that's okay, because I, of course, did not pay top dollar for a professional sewing machine. I just bought the beginner sewing machine. So it's good though. It works fine, and I'm happy with it. So, all right. That's all I got really as far as craft. Let's move on to just life stuff and TV and books. If you're not sticking around, that's great. I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up, and if you subscribe to the channel, even better. It doesn't cost you anything, and it just helps me out a bit. And if you want to follow me elsewhere, I am not on social media. I gave social media up. Best thing I ever did. But I am on, aside from YouTube, I am on Ravelry as BobbleHeadKnits. So you can follow me there. And I'm good about listing all my projects, not so good about filling in the details on Ravelry. But you can message me there. You can also just message me on Gmail. My email address on Gmail is bobbleheadknits@gmail.com. All of that's listed in the more section below. All right, moving on to life. All right, last week when I was recording, I was rushing through things. I'm going to put these up here because I feel like I might need them in a bit. They're my reading glasses. So I was rushing through things last week because my husband, okay, not my husband, the utility company had like 20 trucks out in front of my house. They were replacing the gas line from our house to the street. The gas line had broken a few weeks ago. Luckily I was here and awake and I heard the whole thing when it happened and called the fire department. I talked about it all a few weeks ago. We were very lucky. No one, it didn't kill anyone and we caught it right away. However, they had to come back out and replace the actual line. So they were getting ready to do that last week when I was recording and I was rushing. So after I finished recording, that was like a day of entertainment for my husband. I just have to tell you, it was for me too. I mean, it was interesting watching them do it, but my husband literally commandeered my office, this room, took my chair, was sitting right in front of the window over here behind you guys, watching the whole thing. We were really bummed that we did not have our 2-year-old grandson because he's all about heavy equipment right now. He would have loved it. But my husband loved it. So it was fun, when we were laughing because I was like, should I make some popcorn for you, honey? Because he was totally into it. But they did a nice job, and it was, they were very efficient. They were done by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, all right, other weekly stuff. There wasn't a whole lot that went on this week. We went out to dinner one night with my daughter. We rarely get to spend time with my daughter because she's just busy. And, she's going to be 25 in like a week. And she didn't want to hang out with her parents. So we got to go to dinner with her earlier this week. We're actually going to go to dinner with her again today. So that's good. I did take, as I mentioned, I took a Pilates class last week. I did go ahead and sign up. And I'm going for the first real hour-long class this afternoon. Not looking forward to the pain that's going to follow. That's tomorrow after I do an hour of Pilates. So that went well. I enjoyed that. I've always liked Pilates. So that was a nice thing that I found a studio not too far from my house and I can go do it. So, all right. Books and TV. Not really any TV, but a lot of books. I finished Marianne in Autumn. It's a Tales of the City book by Augustin Maupin. If you have, in the 90s, was it 90s? Yeah, 90s. That was turned into, the Tales of the City was turned into a TV series on, I think PBS did it. Before it was turned into a series, though, I had discovered these books while I was living in the East Coast. And I love these books. And so years later, I had never finished the whole series. Years later, I realized there were a bunch of them I hadn't read. So I'm trying to read them all. So Marianne in Autumn was one I hadn't read. So I read that. It was not as good as the other ones. But also, a lot of time has passed. So, there's that. But still, it was like revisiting an old friend. The other book I finished was My Friends by Frederick Bachman. That was such a good book. It was, it's sad, but also funny and hopeful and very good book. I ended up listening to that because I realized last month that with my premium Spotify account that I set up, I got 15 hours of books that I could listen to. So I did that. That was the first one I did. And that came in handy, or well, hopefully. I was reading The End of the World as We Know It, which is an anthology of stories based on Stephen King's The Stand. Kind of continues The Stand, and Stephen King like approved of this. He wrote like the intro and all this stuff. So I started reading that book, but it is a monster of a book. So I had to return it to the library this week. So I'm going to try to finish it by listening to it with my Spotify audiobook credits. We'll see though, because it's some outrageous number of hours, and I wasn't even 30% through the book. So I need to, it's probably going to take a while is what I'm saying. So yes, it was a good book though. It's a good book if you all like Stephen King, and especially if you want it more out of the stand, more stories from the stand, definitely worth reading. There are some stories that are stronger than others, but they're all good. So, all right, that's all I got. So I hope everyone has a good week. I will talk to everybody next week, and hopefully I'll have more knitting to show, and maybe, well, probably not any sewing, but a lot of knitting. All right. Have a good week, everybody, and keep on knitting. Bye.